As we approach the spookiest season, we are going to get into some creepier stories. And this week, we are visiting CURSES. The house was truly alive, and the walls in the first living room had moved 5 inches since we moved in.
What?
Beware of anger. It feeds the house.
But then the last thing I remember, I was seeing an old skinny man laughing. And then everything goes blank. I was dead for 3 minutes.
You have been cursed! Hey.
Hi. Hello. This is Two Girls, One Ghost.
2 girls, 1 ghost. And we are your ghostesses. That is Corinne.
Hi.
And I am Sabrina. And I feel spooky season in my bones.
Oh, yeah.
It is here.
The air is crisp.
My socks have pumpkins on them, jack-o'-lanterns.
And your shoes have ghosts. It couldn't be spookier on your feet.
My feet are so spooky.
Oh, yeah.
Spooky toes.
Don't give me ideas for new careers for you.
For me. Don't give you ideas for you for careers for me.
Well, because I'll highly encourage you.
Thank you for being so supportive that you would encourage and support me if I were to do Spooky Toes OnlyFans.
Yes, that's exactly where my brain was going.
But our brain is also going somewhere dark today.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we approach the spookiest season of the year, which also exists all year round, let's be honest, but we are going to get into some creepier stories. And this week, we are visiting CURSES.
Too many of
You have been cursed!
And I would say, I was hoping that when looking in our inbox for emails pertaining to curses, that there wouldn't be more than a handful. But unfortunately for you guys, it seems.
Yeah, there are thousands.
Many of you have experienced curses in your families and generations. And
you have been cursed. You have cursed people. I saw someone get mad at us.
Why?
For saying that people shouldn't do curses or hex people. And I was like,
well, they seem a little hex happy then.
Yeah, don't be hex happy. If you're mad at us for saying don't hex people, I'm questioning you. And it's not like...
Why were they mad?
They were mad because they were like, hexes and curses have been a long-standing tradition in so many practices and like rituals and beliefs. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. We're saying don't...
We're not against magic.
We're against malevolent ill intentions.
Against other people.
Against other people. It's literally treat people the way you want to be treated.
If you're upset and offended by that, look inward.
Don't judge us. Judge yourself. So, should we rock, paper, scissors to see who starts?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, you go first?
Oh, which one to choose? I'll do my haunted as fuck grandparents' house and familiar curse.
You cursed and cursed.
Okay. Hello, ghost gals and anyone listening to the podcast. This email might be insanely long, but let's get into it.
Okay.
It's not that long. My name is Janet, and I'm writing this while waiting for a PCR to run. Women in STEM things. I'm so mad I didn't discover your podcast earlier, but I'm trying to catch up now. And for some reason, your podcast is the only thing I can listen to while I'm doing my lab work. So I'm listening to you guys for about 8 hours straight every day.
You're going to be caught up so quickly.
Mm-hmm. Now, on to the ghost stories. My maternal grandparents' house is very haunted. When my mom was a teenager, she was hanging out with a friend in the kitchen, and from the window, they could see a truck coming up to the front of the house. They went outside through the door that was right next to the kitchen to welcome the people that were coming in. But when they went outside, there was no truck. This is very weird, considering to get to my grandparents' house, you have to open a gate, then drive about 100 feet to get to the window that my mom saw the truck out of. So it's not very easy to make a U-turn and leave, since my grandma has planted a fuck ton of plants around. As a child, my mom would always have someone whistle in her ear while she was trying to sleep in that house.
That's so creepy.
And when I was 8, my family went to visit this house. Throughout the night, we heard chains being dragged across the floor, as well as what sounded like blankets and mattresses being dragged off the beds.
Scrooge? Are you being visited?
My sister probably got the worst of it when she was sleeping. She woke up in the middle of the night, and she told me it was around midnight. She felt someone whisper her name. She even felt their breath. touching her ear. Everyone in that room was asleep. The door was locked because my mom is scared of her childhood house. But this spirit continued to mumble something in my sister's ear, and she couldn't quite hear it correctly. She no longer stays there when she visits. She'd rather just go to my aunt's house, which is also haunted, by the way. I heard things fly towards the wall, but I would see nothing out of place. The doors would open by themselves. My grandma, one time, when she was sleeping, she felt someone lie on top of her. The hag.
Well, I'm also imagining not just like crouching on her chest, but like fully planking, laying on top of her.
Yuck. Face to face, or like, was it their back or their front?
Probably their front, like eye to eye.
Yeah. Creepy. Are we about to kiss right now?
Oh my God.
My cousin said that as she was going inside of the house one night, she saw a man standing near the gate of the cow pen. She thought it was her dad, but then she goes inside only to find her dad right there. She ran outside again to see this man and saw no one. I also have a memory of a dream that one of my aunts took my sister, our cousin, and me to a grave on the property. Okay, so now my paternal grandparents. Around the same time that my sister was experiencing this, we also stayed with my dad's mom. Being a scared little 8-year-old, I stayed in the same room as my parents, and I slept in between them. One night, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I had no idea what time it was. But in the door, I saw a woman in white. She slowly moved to the bed, right in the middle to where I am. She turns, and she looks at me.
How many ghosts are here?
Well, this is at a different grandparent house.
Jeez.
So I'm 8 years old. I'm a little girl in Mexico. I'm seeing a woman in white. I'm convinced that I'm saying La Llorona. I'm saying my goodbyes to my parents, to my sister. I'm telling them I love you in my mind. I'm praying to God that La Llorona doesn't drown me. She looked like she was ready to jump at me. And then all of a sudden, she disappears. The next morning, we're getting ready to leave, thank God. And my sister screamed for me to go to the bathroom. So I walk over and she tells me to just stand there. She starts to brush her teeth, and we hear someone brushing their teeth with her. And this is not an echo. It does not sound distant.
Oh my
God.
It
is right next to us. So we search the bathroom, but there is nothing that could make this sound.
My whole entire right side is filled with chills.
Right. Whatever was happening only happened when we brushed our teeth. So we tried to trick it. We started to brush our teeth, and yet again, whatever it was also started to brush their teeth. We stopped really quick, but the noise happened for a little bit longer. And once this thing realized we were no longer brushing, it stopped. It started by itself again. And that is when I screamed and I ran downstairs, which are really hard to run down. Years passed, we went back down to the house for a funeral of my grandma, and my dad wanted me to go upstairs with him to see if there were any bedrooms left for us to stay in. So right as we get to the top of the stairs, I feel heavy, as if something is there waiting for me. We went back a few years later after that, and my aunt and my cousin were staying there, and my cousin reveals that she has actually seen our grandmother in that house.
Oh.
My mom had horrible nightmares whenever she stayed in that house, and my grandma did not like my mom, so maybe that was her sending her nightmares.
Ugh, don't like that.
But now on to my familial curse. When my mom was pregnant with me, she went down with my dad and older sister to visit Mexico. And while there, my great aunt came up to her and said, "Whatever you do, don't name your kid Carlos or anything similar." My name was going to be Carla.
Oh, and she didn't even know that.
Well, I guess. Named after my dad's dead twin brother. Apparently, everyone named Carlos on my dad's side dies young. So my dad had an older brother, Carlos, who sadly passed away before he was born. My great-grandparents named his twin Carlos in remembrance, and he sadly passed away at the age of 9.
Oh my gosh.
My mom took this warning as a grain of salt and still wanted to name me Carla. I was born premature. I had heart problems. I was taken to another hospital 3 hours away. My mom, remembering what my great aunt said, turned to my dad and said, "We are no longer naming her Carla." So they ditched Carla, and that is probably why I get to write you this email today. See you on the other side, Janet.
I feel like the curse is also hauntings. You've got multiple curses traveling through.
But
this
also,
family.
if the grandparents live in Mexico, like, sorry, but everything is haunted in Mexico.
Yeah, but like at the farmhouse, there seems to be multiple spirits, and then at the other grandparents' house, there's like a woman haunting that house.
Yeah, there's a woman, and now grandma also.
Yeah.
haunting
Are they
their
the
house.
same?
But they're like angry. They're both angry.
And then one's brushing their teeth with them.
That one's weird.
That one's, yeah, odd.
The farmhouse is, I feel, the
scary
scariest
one.
because there's like chains and things being thrown and like mystery men just like walking around on the property
Yeah.
outside and cars coming up the road. But then I'm also like, is this like a time slip thing?
Because it does seem like, well.
It's so active. And
Oh,
it's also,
actually, though, that could. If we want to view
toothbrushing?
No, if we want to view the being laid on top of by a ghost, if we want to view that as a time slip thing, it's not a ghost laying on top of her. It's a spirit laying in bed, and she happens to be in bed as well.
Right. It's just weird, especially like someone out by the cow pasture and the gates, and just like it feels like there's a routine and rhythm. I don't understand necessarily like mattresses being flipped and chains being dragged on the floor. That seems really freaky. But there is a lot that does feel like it's like the rhythm of someone's life in the house existing at the same time that they are in there.
I just started rewatching American Horror Story, so I just finished Haunted House, and there's so many twists in that one.
Yeah.
And now I'm watching Coven.
Did you go to, you must have, junior year of college, we had an American Horror Story themed party at my house?
I was not invited.
Yes, you were.
TFTI.
You were running with different crowds, I think, at that point.
I was running with bad crowd.
No, but I was going to say that one was really cool because one of my roommates, her dad wrote American Horror Story, and he gave us a bunch of props from the set to have at the party.
That, I was definitely not invited. That sounds so cool. If we could travel back in time, I want to go to that party.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Damn. Okay, well, going along the theme of haunted houses and cursed houses, this is from our listener, Elizabeth, and it's called Living House Haunting. And I do want to say, I want to send so much love to Elizabeth. She sent us an email telling us that she is terminally ill with thyroid cancer.
Oh my gosh.
And there's no treatment for them. And she's allergic to most treatment options.
Oh, Elizabeth.
So we're sending a lot of love.
Yeah. And like any weird like woo-woo energy we can possibly just like conjure to make you feel less in pain.
And she says, "This is me guilting you into fulfilling one of my dying wishes. My soul won't rest. I humbly beg you to cover my story."
Well, here we go.
So here we are, and we're sending you so much love, and I hope you're not living in this house anymore. Hi, girls. I hope you can slip my experiences into one of your haunting podcasts. English is my second language, so please be patient. In the mid-60s, my dad designed and built my mom her dream house. This house is huge. In the front, there's a huge living room with custom-made sliding doors on both sides of the house, inserted into a custom-build window frame. Both sides of the sliding doors are covered with glass. Then there's a long hallway all the way down to the main bedroom section next to the second living room. Now, from the first living room, when you enter the hallway through the arch, is the following. On the left is a huge kitchen with a stable door leading outside and a walk-in pantry next to it accessible only from the kitchen. The first door to the left is a full bathroom with a bath, shower, basin, and toilet. The first room on the right is a bedroom. Second room on the right is also a bedroom. And then at the end of the hallway is a section of the house that is the main bedroom on the right with an ensuite full bathroom on the left. Then you continue through the main bedroom. You end up at the door leading to a second living room. From there, there's a laundry room to the left with a walk-in pantry, and this has a door that leads outside. All of the light fixtures originally were copper and looked like mini chandeliers, but instead of candles, they were fitted with glass light bulbs, and each light bulb had a tulip-shaped lampshade.
Beautiful. That sounds exactly like what I've pinned on Pinterest a few times.
Outside of the property is a double-car garage with a workshop attached on the left, and quarters in the back made up of a small kitchen, 2 small bedrooms, and a bathroom. Then there are multiple animal houses like a cow shed, sheep shed, pig pen, hen house, and a place for ducks. This is dreamy.
Mm-hmm.
So, just after my parents got married and the house was built, they moved into the house and started their family. My oldest sister was born in 1969, followed by my middle sister in 1970. Then my mom had unfortunately had a miscarriage and didn't conceive again until I was born in 1981. The only memory I have of that house is when my middle sister pulled me on a wagon she built using the base of an old baby stroller. I don't remember anything else. When my grandfather passed away, my family moved into my grandfather's house to help take care of the farm and my grandmother. This was on the neighboring farm, and so my parents started to rent out their own house. The first family who moved in were strange. I remember the matriarch of the family scared me. She always told me she was a witch, and I only visited them myself twice. First time, I saw them playing a game, using a glass, an open book, and a key with a string swinging above the book. There was also a wooden board with letters and numbers on it, and I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, it was definitely a homemade talking board or Ouija board. Whatever it was, at the time, I was scared and I wanted to leave. The old lady told me if I told my parents what I saw, she would kill them.
What the fuck? Good thing I bit my tongue earlier. I was like, oh, how cool would it be to encounter that just like out and about? And then I was like, well, if she's getting bad vibes from it.
Yeah, immediately got bad vibes. The second time I went there, this old lady put me into a water tank my father had built years before to retain rainwater for the vegetable garden.
Excuse me.
Put her in the water tank.
Trying to kill her?
I don't know. I don't know why I went there, but I remember I walked through the bush and climbed through barbed wire fences to get there. I was left in that water tank for what felt like half the day. I stood in green algae sludge that covered me up to my knees. I was about 4 years old at the time. I never went back there while that family lived there, and I never told my parents until I was an adult.
What?
That is when they found out that the first family that rented the house was also involved in the occult, mixed up with drugs, and that is why they got evicted from the property.
Holy crap.
One of their sons was also later convicted of murder, but we don't have any further information on that, and this was in the mid-'80s.
Makes you wonder what he saw in that house growing up.
Yeah. The second family that my parents rented to was a husband and a wife with a baby, and the wife was pregnant. At first, they were nice and healthy. The husband and wife both had very good jobs. They seemed happy, and I would visit their kids because I didn't have many other friends around the farm. Most of them were much older than me, and then I noticed that the older child was talking to an invisible boy. This girl said that the boy was 2 years old and afraid to be in the house alone. We thought she was making it up. I never felt comfortable in that house. I always got scared of being in any of the rooms by myself, and I told my parents I was being watched all the time. It also felt like I was being strangled if I walked down the hallway. Eventually, the husband developed a drinking problem.
This is giving me a little bit like Amityville Horror House.
And American Horror Story haunted
Yes.
house. Yeah. Eventually, the husband and wife separated and they all moved out. And now it was the 90s, and the house really felt like it had developed its own personality. Even when it stood empty, it felt like someone was home. My parents decided to save some money and do some upgrades before renting the house out again. So then fast forward to 1998, and I decide to have a sleepover for my birthday in this house.
What the fuck?
All of the renovations were done, and my parents were about to rent the house out the next month. So I'm like, what could go wrong? I'm no longer a child, and all of my friends would be there. So my dad bought me my first alcohol, or so he thought, wink, wink, and built a fire pit outside the house so my friends and I could have a bonfire. I even got a jumping castle and erected it inside the empty house in the first living room. We had a self-serve stir-fry station, so everyone made their own food. We had a blast. That does sound like really fun.
That honestly sounds like half the people's bachelorette parties that I see online.
We felt very grown up since we were just a bunch of teenagers and there were no adults. We were also just a bunch of girls, so my parents didn't feel like they needed to chaperone us. There were no boys. We did drink, but none of us got heavily intoxicated. This was not our first time drinking alcohol, despite my parents' beliefs. We decided at around 11 p.m. to get cozy in our sleeping bags in the first bedroom, since it was cold, being winter and all. I walked through the house to make sure all the doors and windows were locked and got into my sleeping bag. We talked nonsense until we each fell asleep one by one. And around 3 a.m. on Saturday morning, my friend woke me up. She was the only one who didn't drink. She had only had soda that night before. And she said she kept hearing a little child calling his mom. She said she thinks that he's lost and afraid and sounded like he was about 2 or 3 years old. Remember the invisible friend, the 2-year-old boy? I felt cold rush down my body. And that's when I knew it was the little boy that had been seen by the previous tenant's daughter. He was real. I told my friend it's probably a jackal and that she must just go back to bed.
A jackal?
A creature outside calling for mommy. And sounds like a 2-year-old boy.
I'd be almost more scared of that.
Yeah. So she went back to bed and I got up to check the house. It's important to know that we didn't have any furniture in the house, not even curtains in front of the windows. So when I walked to the first living room, I saw a car parked in front of the gate, and this car had its headlights on. I ran to my friends and woke them up. I asked if someone they knew might be outside, and they all said no. We all walked to the living room, and the car seemed to see us, and that's when it turned on and reversed, made a U-turn, and left for the main road. To this day, I don't know who that was or even how long this car and its occupants were watching us, a bunch of careless teenage girls. I vowed to never set foot on the property or in that house ever again. So weird. It's like the middle of the night. This car is just sitting there. Which it could just be teenagers like pulling off to the side of the road. They're like, ooh, let's park here and make out. I don't know, but it's creepy.
It is.
A month or so later, my oldest sister, who was then 29 years old, and her friend decided to move into the house. Her friend was pregnant and had her baby girl later that year. They had been friends since nursing school and met when my sister was 18 herself. Together, they lived in that house until 2009. It was difficult for me as my sister's friend tried to constantly disrupt my family relationships after they moved in. It got so bad that to this day, we cannot stand each other. Anyway, during the time that they lived there, they also heard this little boy call for his mommy. They saw shadows, they heard other noises. The activity seemed to intensify. Both my sister and her friend worked the night shift, so my mother would go over to the house to sleep in the house and look after my sister's friend's baby at night. My mother is 100% skeptical and says she doesn't believe in hauntings, but she could never explain all the weird things that happened in the house. Once, a handprint of a small child around 2 to 3 years old appeared on the velvet living room curtains and could never be washed out.
What the hell?
Like it
That is
burned
so creepy.
into the fabric. My
A child's hand.
Could you imagine that being right here? These are velvet curtains.
Oh my God.
A handprint right there.
Not very smart of us to have like live fire sometimes right next to the velvet curtains.
Well, stay tuned because we will be reorganizing our studio again.
With more live fire.
But also we're going to relocate back towards the bookshelf in a little bit.
Yeah. We have a very nice couch coming.
I know, we're so excited. My sister and her friend started arguing to the point where my sister, who lived in the bottom part of the house in the main bedroom area, would lock the door, and then eventually the two of them lived as strangers. In 2007, it became so bad that my sister moved back in with my parents, and her friend's sister moved into the part that my sister lived in before. The same thing happened to them. The two sisters now became fraught. My sister's friend started to have an affair with one of the neighbors, a married man, and he frequently visited her in the house while his wife was at work. The friend's sister moved out to another state. My sister's friend found a farm nearby, and she took out a loan to buy it. She moved out of the house, threatened the married man that she had an affair with to move in with her and her now young daughter, or she would expose him. And content warning, this is very graphic, scary death. So this man, who didn't want to leave his own wife and daughter for the woman, went on a hunting trip one night with his brothers and cousins. He got drunk, sat his brother down, and told everyone that he didn't want to live anymore. He then took all of his clothes off and walked straight into the bonfire. He was rushed to a hospital and eventually passed away from complications due to 4th-degree burn wounds.
No.
Our house stood empty again. By this time, it is near the end of 2009. I personally have been married for about 3 years at this time, and the division of the floral market my husband worked for closed down, eventually rendering him unemployed, and my business wasn't doing well enough to pay all the bills. So we moved into my parents' old house. My parents' old house had too much damage by this time, and we decided to rent out the better of the two houses and fix it. Our agreement was that we would live rent-free, but we needed to do repairs out of our own pocket. So we moved into my parents' old house. The headaches started the first week while living there. I became violently ill and was rushed to the hospital with a rash covering 80% of my body. My body was so swollen that the skin between my fingers started tearing because there was nowhere for the skin to stretch. When the nurse came to draw blood for the blood gas test, the first needle broke, the second stronger needle bent, and eventually the third one went in. The nurse started to cry and apologize, saying this had never happened before. I told her it's okay, and she drew blood. By this time, the emergency room didn't have any more ice packs, so my sister, who's also a nurse at the same hospital, went to a vending machine and started buying as many cans of soda as she could and started putting them on my body where there were no ice packs. It literally felt like I was being burned with melted plastic and hot sugar at the same time. Doctors ran a barrage of tests and even asked me if there was a possibility that my husband would have poisoned me, but they couldn't find what caused the rash. They couldn't find a treatment that worked, and I was sent home after 3 days in the ICU and 2 days in a regular ward.
Oh my God, it's so painful too.
I eventually found a homeopathic website that had a recipe that helped. I made the paste and covered my body, and after 4 weeks, the rash disappeared, but I had blue marks all over my body in every place where the rash was. It looked like I was kicked and punched and beat up by people. Eventually, I recovered. The rash did reappear 2 more times in the following months, but never as bad as the first time. I thought maybe it was being brought on by cleaning products because it all started the moment we moved into that house. We started hearing noises like someone was jumping on the roof and walking above our bedroom. There were no trees near the roof, so I cannot imagine how someone could have jumped on the roof. But this continued throughout our entire stay. One afternoon, my husband was home alone, and I was at the campsite I owned and ran with my parents. My husband came rushing to the campsite and told me that he was busy watching sports in our bedroom when he heard footsteps running down the hallway. Footsteps so heavy it sounded like army boots. He refused to go back home. He is also a huge skeptic, but still couldn't explain what he heard.
How could you possibly be a huge skeptic after experiencing and being witness to?
Because he didn't want to believe.
Oh my God. Like, what are you Okay, can you have your husband tell us, like, specifically what are you skeptical of?
Well, I don't think they're together anymore.
Oh.
So.
Never mind, forget him.
Forget him. Our relationship became strained and we grew more distant. Sadly, we found out we couldn't conceive and it added more stress. I did eventually become godmother to 2 beautiful children, and I basically grew up in that house. And it seemed like that 2-year-old boy, the spirit, would come to visit more and more often, as my godchildren would always ask, "Who's that little boy who comes to visit but leaves unexplainably?"
So every child who's entered this house encounters this little boy.
Many unexplained things happened in this house. A woman walking from the hallway to the pantry, strange figures standing just outside the fence looking towards the house, not quite human, but recognizable as a tree or bush, looking like humans. Noises coming from the room next to us when nobody was in it, the footsteps on the roof, items going missing, then being found in odd places, food going bad overnight that had nothing wrong with it the night before, electrical stuff stopped working midday, like the electric kettle, then it would turn on again the moment you touched it. Toast would burn so bad it caught fire. Puddles of water appeared in areas where you can't see, but you would slip and fall in it easily. The TV would change channels. Voices caught on voice recorders discussing us living in their house.
What? Ooh, this is so The Others.
Not to mention all the accidents that happened. I got burned with boiling water when the kettle wasn't even on. I slipped in the hallway, broke 3 ribs. One day I walked into the second living room and a crossbeam fell out of the ceiling, almost cracking my head open. Truly 1 inch closer and I would have been dead. Another day my godchildren were visiting and the whole house started shaking like a mini earthquake. I grabbed the kids, we hid under the dining table, and the arch that we were standing under just before crumbled. Bricks fell out of the wall. My parents next door literally felt nothing.
How can this all even happen? Like, this is one of the biggest hauntings I've ever heard.
Well, it's also, they built this house brand new, which proof that it doesn't matter when a house was built.
Oh my God. This is wild.
The house was truly alive, like it was breathing, and the walls in the first living room had moved 5 inches since we moved in, causing the ceiling to slowly collapse.
What?
Every single wall was cracked to the point where you could stick your head through it, and no matter how much work we did or how much money we poured into the house, it never stayed clean. All the repairs seemed to disappear and not last.
This is exactly what happened in the beginning of, I know we reference it so often because it was one of our more recent demonic ones, but wasn't the Smurl family? It was like constantly checking the pipes and things were broken in the house and it has to be this, it has to be that.
It's like the Smurl family and the Black Monk of Pontefract. Yeah.
Yes.
Then the worst happened. In 2014, my husband got his old job back, and with that, he had an affair. This is important, so please bear with me. In 2015, my husband came to me on April 1st and told me he was having an affair on April Fool's Day.
Yeah, I'd be like, that's a really weird joke.
But
not an okay joke.
Already knew because he was not good at hiding it.
Oh.
Just as I was about to tell him I wanted a divorce, my husband was diagnosed with bladder cancer. So I stayed with him in that house for another 4 years until he was in remission. I took care of him, but he became violent and truly tried to kill me in that house. He locked all the doors and went crazy. He took my phone away, but accidentally speed dialed my sister, who came to the rescue. Did he accidentally, or did a spirit intervene?
Did the house call your sister? I'm like, I'm just flabbergasted by this entire story. I can barely even formulate words.
I walked away with my life, some clothes and personal items, but gave my husband everything, from the furniture to the home appliances to all our camping gear, and moved out of the house.
Sometimes that's what you have to do to survive.
I wanted nothing that touched that house. Everything felt infected by the house. So I moved into my own house again, and this house stood empty again. We decided to not rent it out, and then one of our farm workers asked to live in the house as his wife had become pregnant, and they couldn't live with his brother anymore. We were reluctant, but eventually agreed, and he moved in, and we started building them a smaller house near my mom's house so they could move there. Truly, a month after moving in, they started having relationship problems. I had to stop his wife from leaving with their 3-week-old baby during a rainstorm. And the moment they moved into the smaller house on my mother's property, everything was okay again. In 2020, our neighbor was desperately looking to rent the house for one of his employees, and we only agreed because it was COVID, and these were 2 brothers who lived in a caravan. We felt bad for them and said that they could live on the property in the house for only a year and they needed to pay the electricity. They agreed and moved in. Then we noticed more and more people coming to the house, and we learned that they were selling drugs out of the house. A lot of other dark stuff happened here. They moved out, and when we entered the home, my heart broke. There were satanic symbols, swear words written all over the walls, thousands of discarded documents from unknown people, all strewn around the house. Everything was left behind. This house was left in complete disrepair.
Which is like weird because it's a brand new house. The tenants seem to destroy it, but at the same time, the house was trying to break itself
That's true.
the entire time anyway.
The house smelled like rotten decay. We had to wear protective clothing and use shovels to pick everything up that they left. It took us a week and 120 black garbage bags to empty the house.
Whoa.
Yeah. The house, once again, stood empty. Then in 2024, my cousin fell on hard times and begged us to rent the house. No matter what I told my cousin, they wanted to live in there. So we ended up telling them about the house's history, and they still wanted to move in. They moved in and are just paying the rates and the electricity they use. We overhauled the whole drainage sewer system and plumbing as well as the electricity and told them that the rest is up to them to repair. In the beginning, they seemed happy just to have a roof over their head. But now I can see the emotional cracks forming, and I fear their family is also going to be torn apart. The thing is, this house has a personality, a malicious one. It feeds on the emotions of its inhabitants. All relationships with people who live in that house after the first tenants moved in fail. It doesn't matter if it's friends, family, couples. I met a lady once in a park whom I had never seen before in my life. She didn't know anything about me or the house, but she walked up to me, straight up to me, grabbed my hand, looked at me straight in the eyes and told me, "The house you live in is cursed. The little boy who lives there is sent to guard over the children of the house. When he gets scared, he calls his mother. The entity in the hallway likes to walk around on the roof. Beware of anger. It feeds the house." A stranger.
What the fuck? Why did you know
stranger.
so many details? That is so crazy. And also, I'm like a little bit, I always feel so conflicted because I'm like envious sometimes of people who have that ability. But then I'm like, well, if they're getting that, how much else are they exposed
Right.
to? Right?
Right. And what is telling them this?
Yeah.
That
Ooh.
house nearly destroyed me. I was born when my parents lived in that house, and as a small child, after we moved into my grandparents' house, I used to get premonitions of family members about to pass away. I told my parents, and my father also had those premonitions. He helped me to understand that it was my family saying goodbye. I also had night terrors. I became paralyzed in my bed most of the time, just laying there staring at the odd things, the unexplained things around my bed. I still dream about being in that house, and when I wake up, I know something bad is about to happen. I've always been sensitive to the unexplained, and that house seemed to know and to target me. I do not go there anymore, even though my cousin lives there. I see it every day because there's only one road in and out of town, and I have to drive past it. And I feel it looking at me, waiting for me to return. I have attached photos of the house from above with the Google view. See you on the other side, Elizabeth.
Oh my God.
Like, why is it cursed? And
It has to be the land, right?
it has to be the land, but it's also
why
the
is
first
little boy
tenant
there.
Well, okay.
Like,
My question.
What structure was there before? Or like who was brought there and killed?
Well, then there's also Elizabeth's mom did have a miscarriage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this a spirit of that child?
But
who's
then
now
he calls
trying to
for
protect
his mom though when he's scared.
Yeah, it's calling for his
Is the
mommy.
Oh, I was thinking like the mother spirit was also there,
Oh, I don't know.
and that's when he like disappears for a while
I don't know.
because he just will randomly leave at times.
But then also those first tenants and like the witchcraft. I mean, that woman sounded terrible. Putting Elizabeth in the water well.
That like what?
How did you get out?
Fuck. I don't know, but literally everything about this house is evil and disgusting, and the behaviors of so many people is just atrocious.
And it just makes me sad how many people gave into their worst parts while living in that house.
Right. And like how many people were even brought to, like, what if that was innately never in anyone until
in that house?
You become something else. Like something is feeding on you.
Knock
Something
down that
is-
house.
Truly. The house is trying to reject itself in a way too. So it's like
There are holes in the walls that you can fit your head through.
no one's supposed to live there. Humans aren't supposed to be there. There's not supposed to be a structure. Something else far older and evil has made claim to the space, and let that be.
Knock it down.
Knock it down.
I feel like it calls to people that they know are desperate. Like almost every person that's moving in is going to have a child, and needs like a roof over their head.
Yeah. This also just makes me think, like, is this house faking how it presents itself to people?
Absolutely, for sure. It's luring people in.
Yeah, like it's not just like a desperate thing, but it like makes itself look like the most perfect option, right? Like we're so lucky to be able to get this house. Forget putting offers in on all the other ones. Like we'll be tenants here. This one was beautiful. It was like everything was perfectly behaved
to get them in.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Oh
and also
gosh.
like this going to our topic of cursed, this makes me wonder, what is a curse? Because I know you can put curses on people, but do curses just sometimes just exist?
And maybe there was like an external spirit or entity that just like, that was it. Like they were the curse, or wherever they were or claimed was cursed. Or it felt like a curse because just bad things followed.
Yeah. Like everyone who lived in this house, bad things happened.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible things.
Like really bad things.
Oh
my gosh. Okay.
Elizabeth, we don't have answers, but I'm glad that you no longer live there.
Yeah. I do have another story called Cursed House. I don't think this is going to entail exactly what Elizabeth just shared with us, but it's still
a cursed house.
A curse.
Okay.
Hi, ghostly girlies. I absolutely love your podcast, and I think that this is the perfect place for me to tell this story.
Perfect.
A bit of background on my house. We live in the UK in a small village in South Wales. My father and my godfather bought the land and built sister houses next to each other. And before this, it was a building called the Empire, which was a pub, a cinema, and a ballroom. The building burnt down twice. And the village wasn't really happy when we bought this land, but the previous owner of the pub, he promised everyone that he was going to rebuild it. Of course, he didn't. And so my family bought it. The first time the pub had burnt down was in the 1930s. The second time was in 2008.
Maybe there was not meant to be anything there.
Erin attached a photo of the building burnt down in the 1930s, and then she couldn't find one from 2008.
I am curious because this photo from the 1930s has the back structure is still standing and parts of the exterior. Like, did they
like
use
the stone part?
Right? Did they repurpose it? I'm curious.
I don't know. We moved in November of 2016, and since then, nothing has been the same for anybody in this house.
Okay.
My mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, me. I was 15 when we moved in, and I basically spent all weekends on my own as everyone else went out to the local pub. I couldn't complain because I had weekly sleepovers most of the time, but it started off with little things in the house. Like the automatic bin would go off in the kitchen when I was all alone, but I'd be in a completely different room. It was not too scary, but it would put me on edge. About a month in, a very big event happened. Early one night, I was in the living room, and above the living room was my parents' room. I could hear footsteps, but everyone was out. So I picked up the courage to go upstairs and check, but no one was there. The night went on. It's now around 10 o'clock. I go to bed, and then at midnight, I heard my mother screaming and my dad running up the stairs calling her name.
Oh, God.
I ran out of my room to see what all the fuss was about, and I find my mother asking my father to help. The man is hurt. He needs our help. She keeps saying, the boxer, he's hurt. He's hurt from the fight. He's going to die. And telling us to look at all the blood.
Oh, my God.
My room was freezing cold, and I have never felt the room this cold before. The whole house was warm with heating on, but this room was freezing. She was drunk, right? She was seeing one thing, maybe too many double vodkas, but my dad was really pale. He was really scared. I'd never seen him like this before. He told me to go back to bed, which I did, but my mom was crying, and I could hear her cry for at least another hour.
How terrifying. She's seeing a bleeding man.
Yeah, someone who's clearly been beaten.
Brutally beat, and no one else can see him.
Right.
And this man is clearly interacting with her. Because it's not just like...
she's trying to help him. She needs more help. The next morning, I went downstairs, and obviously I asked my mother what was going on, and she told me it felt so real. My dad came in with a cup of tea and sat on the sofa, and he wouldn't look at us. But then he spoke. He said, he died here.
What?
Obviously, the statement creeped us out.
I imagine him like sitting there on the couch, looking at his drink. He died here.
Right?
Like not looking at anyone.
Sure, it's what the fuck do you mean, Dad? You can't just say that and then go silent. My dad's from the area, but my mom is not, and she doesn't know any history of this place. But he went on to tell us that in the 1980s, they had their first and last boxing match. During one of them, a fight happened where one of the men had the shit beat out of him and the guy wouldn't stop. It took 5 men to pull this man off of this other man, who then died of a brain hemorrhage before the ambulance even got there.
Was it in the Empire Building?
Yeah, which is now their house.
Oh, that's
It's fair to
sad.
say that when we learned this, the room went silent. We did all move on with our day eventually.
What else do you do?
Yeah. And a month later, my mom and my dad broke up out of the blue. They'd always been so happy, but they broke up. And then my dad moved into our old house again. Life for the next year was really weird. My dad would come to the house every day, and it would end with my mom and my dad screaming at each other and my dad walking out.
That's
My
wild.
mom then had to quit work. She had a mental breakdown to the point where she nearly got sent to the hospital. And this could be a coincidence, but as I go on, I can't really get the feeling away that this was because of the house. So April 2017, I had a seizure. And this was the first of my many seizures. I'm now diagnosed.
Jeez.
I came home on a Friday. I was going to go up to my friend's house for a sleepover for a change. I was eating leftover lasagna and my mother was in the living room. My dad was in the kitchen. He got off early because he had a first aid course and I felt fine. But then the last thing I remember, I was seeing an old skinny man, his cheeks drawn into his face, laughing. And then everything goes blank. I wake up in an ambulance. I passed away. I was dead for 3 minutes.
What?
My godmother lived next door and she was a nurse. So my mom ran over there and then she came over and performed CPR and got me back to life before the ambulance came.
Holy shit.
After 3 days in the hospital, I then got to go home.
Well, it's also crazy because I don't know much about epilepsy or seizures, but I've never heard of like a ghostly sunken in man
Like a hallucination right
laughing maniacally as you have a seizure.
Right.
Like I've never heard of that.
No. So my mom was in bed with me and we were watching a movie and she turned to me and asked me who Kevin was. I looked at her blankly and I replied, I don't know a Kevin. And then she explained before I had the seizure, I said, Kevin. And then I let out a scary scream and then I started seizing. So putting 2 and 2 together, I'm guessing that the man I saw was named Kevin. But I'd never told anyone about this man. I actually have never told anyone about it to this day. Every time I have a seizure, I either see Kevin or an old lady who I've just found out is my great-grandmother after finding a photo while moving. The photo of her was of her and my dad, and my blood went cold after I saw her, and I asked my mom who this was. Every time I have a serious seizure, I see Kevin. Every time I have a more mild seizure where my breathing is relatively normal, I see my great-grandmother.
It's like she's trying to protect, like great-grandmother's trying to protect her.
Yeah.
But can't every time.
Right.
Because Kevin's too strong.
This could be my brain obviously not working. No, it can't because you didn't know that it was your great-grandmother until seeing the photo. Like that came first. But I promise you, I have never seen my grandmother. She died 30 years before I was born.
Oh my God.
So the next thing that happened that was weird, in the house, there's kind of like a line. So it's my room, then a bathroom, and then my brother's room. Every night I heard footsteps and it would start on the side of my room and then it would go to the other side and then it would stop and then it would come back again as if someone was walking back and forth. I would just put my AirPods in, try to ignore it and go to sleep, but my brain would scream about it and I was just trying to ignore this thing.
Yeah, I mean, how do you ignore the sound of someone walking
back and forth?
But if it's happening every night, you're just like, I can't.
Yeah,
I can't.
just, again.
Can't deal with this.
One day I came out of my room to find my brother going up to the attic. I asked him, what are you doing? And he said, I'm checking that no one lives in the attic.
Casual.
My brother is 8 years older than me, and I'm not a naive child, so I asked why he was doing that, and he said he couldn't stop hearing the footsteps. So he checked, and there was no one there. 2021, middle of COVID, my best friend moves in with us. Her mother got a new partner and moved in with him, and my friend didn't really like him, so obviously because of COVID, she didn't want to stay there. So basically, she just moved in and moved with us. So my mom told her she could stay with us and she could either share my room or go in one of the spare rooms, but the house creeped her out so much. So she did stay in my room with me. I had a seizure and my mom took me to the hospital and my friend agreed to stay with our dog. I came home around 5 a.m. and she was awake. She's a very early sleeper. She's usually asleep by 10 p.m. every night. So this was odd. So I asked her why she was up and she said, I don't want to stress you out. but I kept pushing, and she said she heard footsteps up the attic. She managed to ignore it, and then when she fell asleep, she woke up at one point to see a little girl at the end of the bed. And when she turned to look at the girl turned to my friend and then screamed and ran at her. I thought she was going to run away. She ran at her.
I also was not expecting this to be a little girl. There's something about the pacing motion that made me think like someone older, a man. Like it's a very like pontificating action.
Yes. Ooh. No one in this house ever saw or heard a little girl, so this really took me back. Both of us had never heard of sleep paralysis at this time, so this wasn't even really a thought, but we moved on. However, I wish she never saw this because the next 6 months of my life was hell. We would both wake up and hear this little girl giggling or crying. And after years of torment by Kevin, I had enough. So I started speaking to him. I said, "You have to stop." When I felt him touch me or move my stuff, I told him to stop. I started to change the narrative, and I would say nice things to him. So if I felt him scratch me, I'd say, "Oh, Kevin, you're feeling strong today." And, "Oh, this presence doesn't feel as cold today. Are you having a good day?"
I get it. But I also like, I could see it also angering Kevin more.
Right. But if it's not working enough, like, does it drain him or does he just move on? I know this makes me sound mad, but at the time I thought that if he's not scaring me or doesn't think that he is, he might stop.
Right.
I even started asking him to help me with things like, "Kevin, can you help me get a job?" Or, "I have this exam coming up."
Put Kevin to work.
Yeah. But I will say after researching paranormal stuff, I realized maybe involving him so much wasn't a good idea. But hey, if I've sold my soul for favors, it can't be that bad, right? When I turned 18, I was finally able to go to the pub. And the sort of typical creepy men would ask me if this house was still haunted.
So it was known around town?
I guess so. And they would ask me if I could hear pool being played. I never did. So maybe that's what Kevin's problem was. He just wanted his pool table back. But here's a little recap of what happened since we moved in. My mom and dad got divorced. I developed epilepsy. My brother developed a drug problem. My mom had multiple breakdowns. My brother moved out. The drug problem stopped. My sister moved out. Her mental health got so much better. I moved out. I haven't had one seizure. My mom moved out. Her mental health is so much better. And she started to work again. My dad and his new wife now live in that house.
No.
So we will see what happens. Weird things are happening in my new house, but it does not feel sinister. Maybe Kevin's followed me, or maybe it's someone else. I have so many other experiences, but I will send that in a different email. Keep up the amazing podcast. See you on the other side, Erin. It's the house.
It's the house, 100%.
The house is cursed, and anyone who lives there is cursed.
Okay, this is really reminding me, and I mentioned this book in episode 340, but We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough. It is so good, but it reminds me of this because especially like the mom having a hallucination, seeing something that no one else is seeing, and weird things starting to happen to you as you move into this house. Also, the main character, Emily, in this book had a near-death experience where she died for like 3 minutes and then came back.
Comes back to life.
Yeah. And then she had sepsis and had to be in a coma. And then one of like, I guess the side effects of recovering from sepsis is like hallucinations and different things. So she's like, I don't know what's real and what's not.
Wait, can we talk for a minute about how I'm actually terrified that I'm going to die because of something that happened on our podcast?
What happened on our podcast?
It's not consistent for everyone. It was just certain group of people, but like many people. There was one episode, and when it came out on Patreon, only for some people, not for everyone, and not for me when I played it, did it stop and keep replaying when I said, "It kills me. It kills me. It kills me."
What episode is this?
Something in the past like month or month and a half. And it was in the context of me. It might have been, maybe it was our episode with Whitney. I can't remember. But it was like in the context of me talking about cats, like, "Oh, I can't be around them. It kills me." But for many, many people, but not everyone, it wasn't just like a normal glitch or in the editing. It paused and replayed, "It kills me. It kills me. It kills me."
Okay, see, I didn't know that it repeated because I saw a lot of people say it just stopped playing after you made that sentence.
I saw a few people say it repeated. And then the timestamp was...
But maybe it's not about you. Maybe it's about whoever it did that for.
I don't know. But
it was like 1 hour and 4 minutes.
Yeah, I think it was like it was 01, 03, 33 or something like that. Because then I was like, oh, well, then I'm going to die in January of 2033.
No, you're not.
I freaking hope not.
No,
Like,
you're
it
not.
makes me want to vomit. I was like, that is the freaky, like, I'm scared.
It's not.
Why did I do that? For some people, not everyone.
I don't know.
That's weird.
Well, that's also something in this book. Like, she goes into her study and 4 books keep falling out of the bookshelf.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put them on top of each other, like, the first word of each book, it like spells out "you will die here."
Okay, well, I'm going to wrap myself in a bubble in the decade of the 2030s, just in case the timestamp was just slightly off.
You're not going to die ever.
Every January, you're not going to see me.
Stay inside. Okay, well, I have one to end us on, and it's from our listener, Chrissy. This email is called Childhood Ghost Trauma. Hello, ladies. Just your friendly lesbian writing in again. But I figured I'd give you some backstory.
As opposed to our unfriendly lesbian.
Yeah. Do we have an unfriendly lesbian who listens? I grew up in a nice middle-class family. My mother was an Irish Catholic, so the paranormal was not something that was really discussed as a child. But I remember being absolutely tortured. We were definitely mid-90s kids to where my brother and I would get home earlier before my parents and have to watch over ourselves before they got home. I remember one time we came home from school and we were all just doing our homework when we started hearing noises in our kitchen. My brother walked into the kitchen and we found the stove was on. The gas burners were just lit flames. This happened a couple of times, so we kept turning them off. After about the 3rd time, my brother grabs a butcher knife and he and I went upstairs to his room. I remember telling our mom what happened when she got home and she just brushed it off. As we got older, I was definitely dubbed the crazy one of the family because my brothers stopped admitting things were happening and I became the main target. When I was old enough, I decided to move into the basement, which was so stupid, but it was bigger and I thought, that's cool. I get a whole basement to myself. But because it was a basement and had rigged walls, I didn't exactly have a door. So instead, for some privacy, my parents put up those hippie beads that you have to walk through, which, again, as a kid in the 90s, I thought were so cool.
Right? Until you hear just the beads rubbing up against each other.
But no, it was not cool because George, the ghost, as we named him, would literally peep in and out of those beads, wake me up at night.
Oh,
good. It was horrible. I remember this would happen and it was like I would get punched in the chest. I wouldn't be able to breathe. I also remember my living room being super spooky. I would never be able to sleep in there.
Mm-mm.
If I felt myself nodding off during television, I would have to go to my room because there was something so eerie about it at night. You could just feel the heaviness.
Oh, yuck.
Someone was watching you. There would be times where I'd get home and go to my room and I could feel something or someone was there. It seemed to calm down if I just acknowledged it and I would be like, hey, all right, I hear you. I see you. I'm acknowledging you. Please do not make me poop my pants and scare me right now. I would be like, I had a really tough day at school. Please leave me alone. My nanny was really into the spooky stuff growing up, so it's not like the paranormal was unfamiliar to me. She was the one who taught me to never whistle at night because it wakes the dead. And it wasn't really until high school that I got the validation I needed. I took this art class and the teacher was so weird. I remember she would have us do the strangest projects and she would always have the radio going with Black Velvet playing by Alana Miles. Anyway, she gave us an old school camera, and I don't mean the disposable ones. I mean the one where you actually have to go into a black room, put the work into develop the photos. I decided to be cocky and take a selfie in my room in my floor-length mirror. Well, when I developed those photos, I thought I was going to fall.
Oh, it's already just scary having to develop the photos.
Like you're in the dark room.
Is so spooky.
There was a giant orb right in the background. I mean, this thing was huge, the size of my head. It was so bright that some of my face was blocked out. And you could clearly see where my light was versus where the orb was. I didn't know what it was at the time. And when my teacher saw, her face lit up. She asked me if I knew what it was, and I told her, nope, I have no clue. And she went deep into spirituality and ghosts. You name it, she broke it down.
Amazing.
I was just stunned. I didn't know what to say. But all I knew was this is the validation I needed. And then my ex ended up moving in with us. And this ghost fucked with her just as much as he fucked with me. She even drew him. I wish I could find those drawings because in her drawings, he almost looked like a cowboy. My ex said that he had a hat, a top hat. But to me, he always appeared as a shadow.
So, Hat Man?
And this leads us to story number 2. 99% sure I gave my ex-wife a ghost. So this is back at my childhood home. When I was around 7 or 8, I would always hear typing on my computer from the room next to mine, which was considered our playroom as kids. One night, I woke up from the typing as I usually did, and I rolled over to only see what I could describe as Skeletor, the villain from He-Man, nose to nose with me.
I would vomit.
It was chaos from there. Maybe because I was the youngest, but this ghost, who I named George, loved to fuck with me. He would do shit all the time, and I say he because I assumed that a shadow figure that would peep on me at night between my curtains and doorways would be the same entity fucking with me. So now fast forward, I'm with my ex-wife for 15 years. I was 17 and she was 19 when we started dating, and throughout the course of our relationship, it was very well known that George was part of this package. There was a first time in our first apartment when we were sitting in our living room watching a movie. My ex was on the couch and I was on the love seat with my little Pomchi in my lap. My pup woke up, grunted, looked around, and left me for my ex on the couch. I thought, well, this is weird because the dog is like a hemorrhoid that I can't get rid of. She's always on me. And in that moment, I felt hot breath on the right side of my ear. And then a very low growl. I immediately froze and started to hysterically cry. Of course, my ex didn't know how to handle this, and I couldn't express myself because I was absolutely terrified. But we called one of our friends, who is a Native American, and she brought some sweet grass and other things and agreed to bless the house. She walked through the house saying chants and prayers until she got to my bathroom, where she stopped, looked at me, and said, "He's laughing. He's laughing at me." I was just pissing him off even more. And I'm like, oh, great. Now he's going to fuck with me even harder. She said that the activity should die down, but we needed something much more powerful to get rid of this guy, because he has been with me since I was a child, which I did not disclose to my friend. He did. He told her that he has been with me since I was a child.
Huh.
I shared this particular story because it was one of the scariest in my life. Of course, I had poltergeist activity, things constantly going missing and then being returned exactly where I looked and knew I left them. There was even a time when he actually mimicked not only my ex-wife's voice, but a full body apparition of her. He loved to fuck with me at any opportunity he got. The last 4 years of my marriage with my ex-wife were incredibly toxic. She developed a very heavy drinking and drug problem on top of having different mental illnesses and struggles. It really took a toll on our marriage, and ultimately we got divorced. And then it was time for George to shine. It was during this time that I believe he attached himself to her, loving all of the chaos and pain and depression that she had. I'm actually a little terrified writing this because it seems that whenever I talk about him, he just pops right back up. Thankfully, I haven't heard from him in 5 years, which is the exact amount of time that my ex-wife and I have been divorced. Now I'm remarried and incredibly happy. And thank God my in-laws are into this stuff and don't think I'm absolute batshit crazy. My mother-in-law
What do they do when they're scared of you?
My mother-in-law is actually a psychic, and
Here we go.
And this gift has been passed down to my current wife. But I have no idea what is going on with my ex-wife and George. Did I pass him on? See you on the other side.
Ooh.
Chrissy.
Well, I don't encourage you to reach out and find out.
No.
And also, like, let it be, because what if he forgot about you? And then if you reach out, he's like, wait a second. And then he comes back.
That's what Chrissy said, that anytime that she talks about him, usually he does pop up.
Yeah.
And say hello.
So just let him, like, we just need to let him lie. I don't like that within so many of the curses that we've read today, there's like a particular figure who's haunting people, or like,
right. And this ended up being
not
houses.
just like bad
it's
luck.
Like cursed houses.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I do have, this is a quite a long email, but I'll read other parts of this email in a different episode. But I'm going to just read the beginning of it because it is a curse and it's kind of related to our podcast.
Oh, shit.
Hello, Ghostesses. My name is Emily. I'm a longtime listener. I'm a Patreon member. And ironically, I am a skeptical fan, and then proceeds to give us about 10 ghost stories. So whatever makes you feel comfortable, Emily.
I think we need to rebrand skeptic because
please, because I don't understand. I thought skeptic is like, I don't believe in this.
I think people are misusing the word skeptic because skeptic is almost like I don't believe. I think there should be a new word for I've had so much shit happen to me. I'm terrified. I don't want to believe. What's the word that encompasses that?
I don't know.
Someone who's in denial.
Denial.
You're in denial.
You're
not a skeptic. You're in denial.
What's like the expat version of like a ex-paranormal believer? You're just so done. You're out of here.
An ex-boo. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, I actually stopped listening for a while in 2020 because I was being a real stick in the mud about everything being fake. Fear not, while I'm still a skeptic at heart, I have learned to appreciate and embrace the unknowns of the universe. and just have a good time because life is too short.
Yeah.
I have now even taken up tarot reading, and I'm hoping to find a way to become more open to the spiritual. Okay, I think I'm starting to understand a little bit because I almost think like Greg and Dana Newkirk are good examples of having skeptical attitudes while also believing that there's something else that could be happening.
Sure.
Like you approach everything being like, well, what's the real tangible thing that's happening here with the person or the conditions or the events that took place? And then only once everything else is exhausted can it be like, okay, well, now what's the spiritual and paranormal?
That's fair. And I also think you and I are quick to be like, demon. And also, we have said this many a time, but we are not here to debate whether or not your personal paranormal experience is true or not. If you believe it's a paranormal experience, we are here to hold your hand and believe you.
Although I will say, even when people are like, I don't know if this is paranormal or not, we usually also tell you that we think it's paranormal.
Right. That's fair. But I feel like we are quick to say demon when perhaps there are other solutions or plausible answers to what it is.
Could be.
Or it's a demon.
Or like, are we all dead and we're just living in this weird... Are we all just one person that's not even a person? Anyway, Emily says, I'm finally writing out my stories to send to you after years of mentally putting together a list of all the events that happened in my life that I think you might like. I don't have anything really scary or really intense as other listeners, but I think that the quantity of little things can potentially build a bigger picture. And I'll read a lot of those in another episode. But we're going to start off with the alleged curse put on Emily's family by a witch in Texas. Emily writes, all I know is apparently one of my great uncles on my paternal side did something to piss off a bruja, and she cursed his family. And this is an uncle that I have never met. And none of his siblings who I did know growing up ever really spoke about him. So I'm not really sure if this was because of the curse or maybe the family just didn't really like him for some reason. Maybe for the same reasons the witch didn't.
Yeah.
I heard this story as a kid and I thought it was a fun little fact about his side of the family. But I was told not to ask the elders of the family about it because they were very superstitious and they would refuse to discuss it. My mom is very skeptical, so she doesn't believe a word of it. And she says the curse wouldn't apply to my sisters and I anyway because we aren't direct descendants. Okay. And maybe that's true, but it kind of feels like we may have a curse anyways.
Okay.
Besides just a general feeling of bad luck in life, constant financial struggles, a heaping helping of severe mental illnesses, a multi-year string of cars getting totaled, etc., my family never seems to catch a break. The main reason I started to believe in this curse was actually because of your podcast and a car crash. I was literally listening to your episode about Casa de Brujas on my way to work when out of nowhere, 2 cars ahead of me on the highway slammed on the brake and I suddenly rear-ended the pickup truck in front of me. I was uninjured, but my car was totaled. And later that day, when I was looking over pictures of the damage of my car that I had taken, I saw on my phone that somehow another photo was taken. A screenshot exactly when the collision happened.
No.
And here is the screenshot. And it is our podcast, our episode. It's just the word like dead and like witch in the title.
Dead and a witch.
It says the dead and a witchy blank.
Stop.
Yeah. Spooky. I didn't think your podcast ghost caused the crash, since to this day, I listen to even the most haunted episodes while I'm driving and I don't have any issues. But maybe some force just needed the timing of it to try to tell me that the curse is real. I don't know. Maybe it's just a freaky coincidence, but I'd love to hear what you think. It's from Emily.
And this is where we yell. It's definitely paranormal.
That feels like the universe being like, what the heck, Emily? It's about damn time.
Well, it's when things are too coincidental that I'm like, it has to be something larger, because the fact that a bruja put a curse on the family, the episode is about the Casa de Brujas.
Yep. My brother and I were talking about this the other day because I was like telling him weird things that happened with Noah, which maybe one day I'll discuss. But he was just kind of saying like kind of exactly what you were saying. He was like, okay, like once, twice, 3 times coincidence. But like after that, it's a pattern and you have to look at it. And it's like, what statistically are the chances of this continuing to happen?
Right. And
that makes it feel like this is paranormal.
And Emily even says that there were a string of car accidents where cars were getting totaled that the family attributes to the curse. And then this car crash happens while listening to an episode very much about a bruja. And nothing else happens when listening to our very haunted episodes.
Nope. This was specific to you. And
Well, Emily, we're glad you're okay.
yeah, thank God. All right, guys.
Well, cursed houses and just curses. You're
Mhm.
cursed. If you're cursed, if you know of any curses,
if you know how to break a curse,
if you want to put a curse on someone, don't. If you know how to curse and just want to like share with us how you do curses, and I don't know, I like to learn, then yeah, email it to us at twogirlsoneghostpodcast@gmail.com and join us on Patreon for ad-free episodes and 1 week early episodes and bonus episodes. Come see us live in like a couple weeks, October 8th in Somerville, Massachusetts. It's a one night only live show, so get your butts there. See us. It'll be fun and spooky.
shout out to Jamie Ryan, who edits and produces our podcast. Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks to all of you. We love you.
And we will
See you on the other side.
Very spooky.